What is going on to all my Marvel fans out there? This is a first time for the channel, as you all can see from the title of the video, as well as under me here, an MCU tier list of not one, not two, not phase one, not phase two, but all 32 movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from Iron Man all the way back in 2008 to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We will be ranking them. And I say we because I have some very special guests I'm going to bring here in a little bit. I'm so excited to talk to them about these films and see where they fall on our list and see if we can come up with a really solid list that you all can agree with or maybe disagree with. But that's the fun of it all. It's going to be a good time. So before I bring in my two guests and we do our tier list of all 32 MCU movies, do me a favor. Number one, I thank you for clicking on the video. But if you had a good time, if you're enjoying the conversation, if you yourself as a Marvel fan, hit the thumbs up. It goes a long way, as well as hit the share button. If you guys know anyone else that loves these type of videos, these type of discussions about Marvel, definitely share the video. And more importantly, comment. You don't have to do all 32 like we're doing today, but give us your top 5, your top 10, or by all means, fill out the comments, spam it with all 32 films of how you would place them from a scale of S tier all the way to the F tier. Let us know. So with that being said, listen, man, I can't believe it's been almost 3 years that we embarked on this journey of 2020 of covering all the Marvel MCU Disney Plus shows, from the WandaVision all the way down to most recently She-Hulk and Miss Marvel and everything in between. And I had two special guests that were my co-hosts on those shows, and I couldn't think of any two people better to have them on today's video to break down all 32 films and see how we place them on a tier list. Talking about the one and only Amanda from Canada Cinema and my man Chris from Taste Take. Gang is back. What's going on, guys?
Good. It's good. It's going. It's hot.
It's hot.
It's like this heat wave is insane.
Yeah, so it's a hot one. Chris, man, speaking of hot, man, we got some playoff basketballs. We got some MCU films to talk about. It's hot outside. It's that time of the year. Chris, how we doing, man?
Yeah, right now I don't want to hear anything that has to do with heat, because as a Knicks fan, we are in trouble. But
yeah,
we got the momentum, so I like my odds tonight. I'm trying to hope this might not age well.
But we'll see. Yeah, this is pre-recorded, yeah. So by the time this video is out, maybe the
heat let me just keep it. Basketball is great.
Very much so. But listen, guys, these two wonderful people, like I said, join me on this journey that we covered all the shows. We also covered some of the movies that came out during that time period. So I couldn't be more happier to have them on today's video. So I'm gonna start with you, Amanda. Why don't you introduce yourself to people? Let them know where they can find your amazing content.
You guys can always follow me over at AMX Indie Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'm an entertainment journalist. I cover everything from film, television, and I go on quite a bit of rants on Twitter, so you can follow me there and my hot takes. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema.
Definitely check out Amanda's information. Can be found in the description of this video. My man Chris, same for you, man. Why don't you let the people know who you are, where they can find you, man?
Yes, I'm Chris Tate. Happy to be here. I represent Tate's Take on YouTube. You can find all my social media stuff in my YouTube description. I got Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and yeah, I talk about movies, TV shows, all that stuff. So I try to give you a little background on that content and just a little bit of how I feel about it. So if you're into that sort of thing, check me out. If you're ready to watch my stuff, shout out to you. Happy to get this Marvel list going.
Again, Amanda's as well as Chris's information can be found in the description of this very video. Look, guys, this is going to be fun. We were talking about it off screen. 32 movies on a span of 15 years. There's never been a cinematic universe like this. This is the first of its kind. Of course, we've had movies that span for 30, 40 years, James Bond, Star Wars, things like that, but not as consistent and not interconnecting these stories. So we're in a weird spot with Marvel, as we'll talk about, with exiting phase 4 and entering phase 5 and all the different conversations about what's going on with Secret Wars, what's going on with Marvel, superhero fatigue, all that stuff. But today we will take a look at all these movies and see how we would place them, have some thoughts on the movies, why they're as high as they are, why they might be as low or somewhere in the middle. And then by the time we wrap it up, we'll take a look at this list and talk about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe when we get to that point. But with that being said, it's time to bring in the actual tier list. And the way we'll handle today's tier list is, we'll all have our thoughts on the movies that we'll talk about and give what grade or where we will replace it on this list. And if we feel strongly about one particular project being maybe higher or lower, then we'll have that debate, have that discussion, and go from there. So I'm gonna start things off with you first, Amanda, and starting off with the beginning of Phase 1, May 2nd, 2008. Jon Favreau brings out Robert Downey Jr. from the depths of just having a pretty, to say, controversial career up until that point to his life, to coming clean and being the lead of Iron Man. Amanda, tossing it to you first. Iron Man, where do you feel like it should fit on this tier list?
I feel like this is gonna get hate right off the bat.
I love it. Let's go.
Even though it started it all, okay, I do think that it would be an A. I don't think it's God tier. I think it laid the foundation for,
It's not a hot take.
Okay, thank God, because I was like, it has to be God tier. I don't know. But yeah, I think it laid the foundation quite well. It introduced Robert Downey Jr. to, many different groups of people that probably never even heard of him, never knew him. Reintroduced is probably the better word choice there. But I watched it when I did my MCU marathon leading up to Infinity War, and it still hits. The visual effects are fantastic. Like, it's just so good. So I think A would probably be the best starting off point for Iron Man.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take at all. And I'll share my thoughts on it a little bit. But Chris, I want to toss it to you, man. What do you think, Mr. Iron Man, opening up the doors to this Marvel Cinematic Universe? Where do you think it should fit?
No, I'll be brief. I agree with A. And I think that God tier should be like a very limited conversation. Maybe we're talking 4, maybe max, like four or 5 films max out of all of these. So yeah, I'm cool with A. Like the lowest I would go is B plus. But it's been. I mean, I haven't seen it recently. I didn't do a rewatch, but I remember it being good.
Not going to be much of debate for me. I think A is an appropriate place to put this film. I know for some people at home that might be watching this might have it in that S tier, which I can understand your reasoning why. But like Amanda and Chris said, I think it's one of those rare movies too that I think is timeless. Like the visual effects are still clean. It's one of those pre-Marvel Disney films because it was kind of in that limbo of Disney, Paramount type of limbo. So we had Iron Man, having, doing grown-up things in this movie and so on and so forth. So it was definitely a different vibe and tone to it. But narratively speaking, it's the hero's journey. And I really, it is something that I don't revisit as often as I do some of these other films. But when I do look at the first Iron Man, it still holds up for me. And I think it warrants the A list, and I totally agree with you all on that one. So going on to I think will be a very interesting one, and that is in the same year, literally a month later, June 13th, we have the Incredible Hulk, which we know played by a different actor, but all of a sudden now we get in returns of the side characters from the first Hulk movie, and here we are talking about it. So I'm gonna start this one off with you, Chris. We got, again, I feel like the room temperature is people have come to appreciate this film as the years have gone on, because the Hulk in the current MCU is kind of have taken a back seat to what we're used to. So what say you, Chris? What do you feel like the Incredible Hulk, the redheaded stepchild, should land on this list?
God tier. No, I'm in the camp that I always liked this movie. I didn't rediscover it. I always enjoyed this movie, but I think part of that too was because the other Hulk movie that came before it was like really not good in my opinion. Yeah. So when this one came out, I was like, oh wow, like this is how you can do a Hulk movie. Me personally, I'm not going any lower for my personal opinion than B on this one, but I recognize that it's not one of the more popular ones, and I'm not here to fight for it like I'll fight for some of the on this video.
Okay, so we got a B from Chris, and we'll have Amanda wrap it up. But I'm gonna, Chris, this film to me is definitely a film that I can appreciate elements about it. Like I think Edward Norton as the Hulk is an interesting character. I think that I like the way his portrayal of the character. But then I think narratively, and I rewatched this maybe about a year ago. Narratively, is not that memorable. There's 2 scenes that stand out to me. It's the scene with the Hulk versus the Blonsky. They were fighting at the camp, the college camp. That scene's a pretty awesome action set piece, and of course the finale. But everything in between, it's kind of a weird movie. Like it's almost like the Homecoming, pre-Homecoming, where it's like he was already the Hulk, and we open the movie with like these flashbacks of like his origin story. So it's not an origin story. It's not really a continuation of everything we've seen before. So that's where it's just so weird to me that it is not only just taken away from like the MCU of it all, but just like narratively speaking from a solo film, it's just like a weirdly put together movie of like establishing a character that we've never really met within this continuity. So I think for me, with that being said, and not as memorable and kind of clunky in its presentation, it's a C, lower than a C, no higher than a B for me, but I got it at a C. So we got a B, we got a C. What say you, Amanda?
I mean,
The tie, break the tie.
I kind of agree. I put it at a C. I would.
C?
I watched it once, never went back to it. Like you said, there's nothing really memorable about it in the scenes that you shared. So yeah. I think C is like comfortable for Incredible Hulk. Can be other films that are probably going to be in B that would make sense, and then we'd have to like rearrange. So
all right, so we got two C's and a B. Chris, any defending the Hulk or staying at that B tier, or are you good with the C, my man?
No, I'm cool with the C. I just challenged Amanda to give it that one rewatch.
Okay, I will. I'll rewatch it.
All right, so we'll go ahead and put it at a C. Let us know if you guys feel like that's a bad spot, a good spot. Let us know in the comments. So now that brings on us to Iron Man 2. We got 2 years later, Jon Favreau's back. And this film, I'll just go ahead and start it off, is a very weird movie. I am not the biggest fan of Iron Man 2. It has its moments. Justin Hammer, where has he been? Is he still out there? We need him back. I'm looking at you, Armored Wars. He's a fun character. There's some moments that I enjoyed, the Tony Stark of it all. Like, it was really interesting of him being an alcoholic. I know that's something, the Demon in the Bottle storyline that they had in the comics, that I was like, oh, this is really kind of dark and gritty, kind of dive into the psyche of these characters. But no, we were going to throw that out of the window and, cure him with introducing, which I think is a good element of the film, Black Widow, which is a standout. But it's kind of just like, it's all thrown together. Messy movie. And don't get me started on the villain of this film, Whiplash, in his bird, one of the worst, easily maybe the worst villain of the entire MCU. Great actor, but not a good character. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and give the first stinker of our breakdown. I'm saying Iron Man 2 is a D for me on my list. Looking at you, Amanda, how do you feel about Iron Man and Whiplash and the Pepper relationship? And story has it that this film was written on the set. Like, there were so many rewrites and improvisation on the set, which it shows in the screenplay. What say you, Amanda?
Really hated this one. I did not like it at all. I think you're being generous with giving it a D, to be honest, but I think that's fair at the same time. Like, maybe a D minus for me. Yeah, I did not like it, apart from Scarlet kind of saving the entire thing. I'm not a fan of like heroes, especially in their second film, either losing their powers or like losing faith in themselves. Like, I'm not a fan of that. So I think that's what really just brought it down. And then the villain just wasn't it. They were trying to make Ricky Rourke happen again, and it just wasn't gonna happen. So maybe D minus for me, but D, I get it. Yeah.
Chris, man, where you at, man? Is this an S tier for you, my friend?
No, I don't like this movie, and I have seen it a couple times. It's always on TV, so you always got to watch it a little bit. I don't think there's any movie on this list that's a F or maybe even an E, but I would put it at a D. I like the Hulk better than that movie for sure.
That brings us to a film, May 6th, Kenneth Branagh, Thor. Amanda, start us off with this introduction to the God of Thunder, Asgard, Loki, Odin, that whole world. Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. Where does this film land for you?
This is a straight up A for me. Ooh. I love what Kenneth Branagh did with Asgard. I think tonally, he is the only director that actually understood who Thor was. I've always said this. Okay. He's been really inconsistent, I think, throughout his entire run in the MCU. I think that he just really nailed it in this first one. So I thought it was an awesome introduction. He, like, the production design, everything, the visual effects were clean. The casting, like Anthony Hopkins too, like just phenomenal stuff there. Rene Russo, all of them. And of course, Tom Hiddleston. But yeah, this is definitely like A for me. Every time I watch it, I'm like, you know what? This is just so damn good for when it came out. And it was a good starting point for Hemsey, which he deserved. So it was really good.
Yeah, the blonde eyebrow Thor coming through. I respect that. Hey, I love it. Chris, man, what do you feel about this, man? Thor is, I definitely agree with the man, is probably the most inconsistent Avenger, or I want to say because it's maybe the most tonally inconsistent as far as what every Taika's version on the Russos and now Kenneth Branagh. What say you, man? Where does Thor land on your on this list for you?
So when we go through this exercise, like some of these movies, like I've seen once when it came out and that's it. And then some of them I've seen like all the time. And I feel like Thor is one of them that I see all the time. So I feel comfortable. I like the A rating. If you, Elliot, wants to say B, I hear you. But in my opinion, I think I got it at A. a low A minus.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I love it, guys. Because now we're gonna get some controversy. Because this movie to me is so bland. Appreciate what you said, Amanda, with Kenneth Branagh and having that kind of Shakespearean, what you would maybe think of the Thor, especially from the comic book run, personality traits, moments in which I was really kind of locked in. But it's just when he, and this is going to speak to a film a little bit later with Dark World, but whenever Thor is on Earth, his first couple iterations to me is where the film just kind of fall flat. And that is particularly, I'm talking about his relationship with Jane Foster, which never, and this is no fault to Natalie Portman. I just think the way that they write her and the way that they're portraying the character is just so flat. And I don't think they have any chemistry whatsoever. Him losing his powers, that fight that he has, that shield, and of course we get the Hawkeye moment. It's just like a weird action scene, and then the Destroyer at the end. I will give you guys the low-key element, the visual effect stuff in Asgard. That stuff is cool, but it's just a bore fest. And the science of it all, the science versus magic conversation. It's just a bore. It's a boring movie for me. I don't revisit it that much.
Just give us the letter. Don't soften us up.
I'm at a C.
Yeah.
I'll give it at a high C. A high C for me, which is which I guess evens out to be a B. Unless you guys feel, I mean, right now it's 2 versus 1. So right now the A stands for you guys, but the C average brings it to about a B. Do you guys feel like it should stay at that A, or you think it should average out on a B?
You can put it at B.
No, yeah, I don't mind B.
And B, okay? You guys feel comfortable with the B? Okay, we'll go ahead and put Mr. Thor on the B list, which isn't bad.
It's not that bad.
Let the record be known, I had a little bit lower. But anyway, moving on to wrapping up our 2 final films of the phase 1, and that is starting off with Captain America and the First Avenger. Joe Johnson came out in the summer. Chris, what do you think about the first introduction to Mr. Captain America, played by Chris Evans, as you all can see? Y'all know where my leading stands.
This is a movie where when it came out, I did not like it. This was on the bottom of my ranking back in the day, and the only saving grace of this movie I thought was at the end, because I thought it was fascinating seeing him come out to present day in New York City.
Yeah, that
and have that realization that this is different. That scene alone saved it. But in that moment, this movie to me is not lower than a C, but I would have to say C for me personally. I don't go back and watch this, but I understand the implications of it, and it's a cool little, like, you know, guy getting bullied, and like I get it. I get it. But for me, this is at a C.
A C. Oh wow. Okay. All righty. I love it. I love it, Amanda. You know how I feel about him. I know you're a fan of him as well. For a lot of people, like Chris just said, it's not a film that they revisit a lot. It's kind of just how I feel about Thor, just kind of maybe just there. But I'll get to my thoughts. But I want to know your thoughts first on Captain America.
We see the shirt
first.
I love the First Avenger. I think it's very underappreciated. I'd probably I put it at a B plus. I'm going to be honest. Like, it's not A. I understand that it can't, like, it feels long. I think the pacing was the one thing that it did lull in the middle at times. It could have, like, cut some fat. I felt like the story between Steve and Bucky is what really got to me. And the thing that I got emotionally connected to Steve Rogers so quickly is the fact that he kept that same spirit when he became Captain America. And you could just feel that from Chris Evans. So I think that if Chris Evans wasn't cast as Cap, Steve Rogers, I don't think this would have done as well as it initially did for first time out. He really does hold it together, but I love him. I love the character, and I think they did a really good job with this one. So I'd probably do B plus.
All right, so we got a B plus. We got my man Chris with the C. Let me go ahead and let y'all know how I feel about this thing. This to me is A tier. It might be a hot take. It might be blasphemous, as Stephen A would say. But I am such a big fan of this origin story because, like Amanda kind of alluded to, it really kind of shows you who he was prior to Captain America and how he kept that same energy when he became the hero that he was almost, born to be. But it's all the character stuff. I know you guys, it is a little bit long in the tooth, but those moments of him and the doctor talking about what makes a hero and him throwing himself on the grenade. Tommy Lee Jones is in this movie. Like, who would have known that Tommy Lee Jones, his old grumpy mean self, would be in a Marvel film? I thought he was great. I talked just about Thor and the lack of chemistry between him and Jane Foster. Peggy and Cap, that relationship to me is the strongest. I'm not gonna lie. I love the Zendayas and the, you know, the Peters and the MJs and the Pepper and Tony, but that to me, that relationship was the most earnest to me of the entire MCU. I will give you all the narratively, the whole Red Skull of it all maybe could have been a little bit more impactful, but it's one of those MCU things where they really want to give you more of the hero's journey versus the villain. But with that said, I do always love when a villain's just evil. Sometimes he's a Nazi. He just wants to take over the world. We don't have to redeem the villains or whatnot. So I love that it was just a straight up villain to take him down. So y'all know how I feel about it. It's an A, but we got a B plus, we got a C. So I mean, what is that? Another B? Is that around a B range? Unless Chris, if you feel avid that this needs to stay in the C tier, no higher. Are we at
I don't feel avid about it at all, because I know like there's gonna be some that I recognize as like movies that people love. So I just tell you, like, I give it a C. So like I understand that people like this movie. So I'm satisfied at a B level.
As long as it's not in that C, like my man Chris was talking, or lower than that, we would have had, you know, a longer debate. But I'm good with the B. Shout out to Captain America. But all these films, and I'm gonna start with you, Chris. All these films led to something that we've never seen before on the big screen. That is all these individual characters coming together for May 4th, 2012, which was about a week ago. 11-year anniversary. Here's Chris, something that we've never seen. All these heroes coming together to fight a really good villain in Loki, who's still around, which I love. Chris, man, does this film still hold up as one of those, like, you know where you were when you saw the Avengers? Or is it kind of, as we've seen more of these Avengers films, kind of not have that same impact?
Got it at God tier. That is at God tier. This is a big moment in movie history. This is like a moment. This is like before there was the Infinity Wars and Endgame moments. This was the moment. And I remember, you know, watching this in the theater. I remember that scene, that battle scene. I remember those post-credit scenes, and I remember just like that Hulk smash and that Hulk and Hulk was Loki. Like, there's so many moments in this movie. Is it perfect? No, of course not. But if this movie's on TV, I will watch it. I got this at God tier. That's my opinion.
I love it. Amanda. Like I said, it's been
bring us down to earth. Bring us down to earth, Amanda.
11 years. Like I said, for some people, it hasn't held the same weight that it did 11 years ago. But how do you feel, Amanda? Is it one of those? Is it an S tier? Is it up there?
Honestly, I would put it at B. It's a B for me. Unfortunately, just because I understand the cultural significance when it did come out. I totally get that. I watched that thing like 5 times in theaters. I was obsessed. I memorized all the lines. Like, it was just,
I mean, if you watch this movie, Amanda's talking about watching this thing in the theaters over and over.
I'm getting there. I watched it again for the rewatch. It doesn't hold up. I think the special effects were wonky. I think some characters were out of character. They weren't written properly. Like I said, there was a level of inconsistency from their standalone films to them collectively as a group. My number one beef with Avengers is that Joss Whedon did not know what to do with Steve Rogers. And that's what really annoyed me in this one, because like, you go from this Steve Rogers to obviously the Winter Soldier, which we'll talk about, and it's such a big jump, but they just made him like this old-fashioned person who had no idea what he was doing. A lot of my beefs with movies in the MCU have to do with the fact that, like, they didn't get Steve Rogers right, which we'll get into. But yeah, it would definitely fall like as a B for me.
Like I said, there's a lot of people out there that this film does not hold as well as it did back when it hit in 2012. And I think for me, this is at an S, you're at a B. I'm at I guess I'll be on brand with the A logo. I'm going to put it at an A for me, because I do think while there are some moments that don't really hold the same impact it did as it, you know, when I saw, I'll never forget when seeing all of them in the same room, bickering, arguing, all this stuff, and Loki's influence of it all. Is something that was just so fire. The Captain, I know you weren't the biggest fan of Cap and how they wrote him, but like even the lines where he's just like, "Oh, I got that right," you know, a man at a time, right? He is speed what was going on, and when he was here last,
and also still the leader.
Avengers. Man, and I don't know if it was purposeful, but like setting the seeds for him and Tony going at it, you know, later on in Phase 3, which we'll talk about. But I do think there are just some iconic moments that I'll just never forget. Them circling up in New York, taking down Atari aliens, and then genuinely for me, the last time we saw Hulk go beast mode was in that film. You know, I'm always angry. That's like an iconic line from Bruce Banner to me. So it's just, it's too many iconic moments for me to go lower than an A, but I can understand where you're coming from, Amanda, where not all the stuff maybe really hit the same narratively, characteristically for these characters. But I think that averages out for an A for this, for the Avengers. Any pushback, Amanda? Are you good with where it's at with the A?
I'm good with that. I understand it. Like, it's just that's a personal thing where it's B, but like I totally understand why it would be an A for sure.
Hey, that's phase 1 in the books, y'all, as you can see, and I'll make it a little bit bigger for those at home. Any S tiers quite yet, but we got 2 A's, 2 B's, a C, and a D. So let us know how you guys where your list is at so far. And looking at it now, Chris and Amanda, phase 1 highly regarded, as some people might have it. You know, a C, a D, and a couple B's and a 2 A's. Phase 1 is solid. I don't think it's the best, as we'll talk about a little bit later.
Time is not kind to a lot of movies, so it's like movies like Thor. Even I like Thor a lot, but it still feels like 2008 or 9 or whatever it is. So it's like,
I agree.
We're in 2023. Like, tough to make a movie that's going to last like that long, like, and still be held up. So it makes sense that phase 1 looks like this to me.
I agree. And man, any thoughts on phase 1? Looking back at it,
I think this just makes the most sense because you're building the foundation for a larger world, and I think the placements, it works. It makes sense.
Which brings us into phase 2. At this point, in the span of almost 5 years, we've gotten our 3rd Iron Man film and a new director, Shane Black, coming into the directing chair, coming out May 3rd of 2023. Amanda, kick us off with Iron Man 3, the story where Tony is trying to be normal, but he's obsessed after having the PTSD with going against Thanos, or not Thanos, but knowing that there's a bigger threat out there and not just earthly bound issues. Iron Man 3.
This is like A for me. I love Iron Man 3. I know. It's very underrated, I think. This one has the best version of Tony Stark, in my opinion. I love that he had such great character development within his own trilogy, I think. If we look at it that way. If we weren't at the time, I don't think they were. Not that they weren't going to use him again, but like it felt like it was his
weird
last.
Ending. I'll say that.
It was a weird ending,
considering when we see him again with his arc reactor and all that.
Yeah, and it's like I really appreciate the fact that it is a trilogy, and you capped it as a trilogy, and I can appreciate that. I love that they dealt with his anxiety and him thinking about the future and thinking about other people other than himself. I think that's what it was for me too. This is the most heartfelt, the most emotional, and the most connected that I've felt to Tony Stark, and that's why I really liked it. So it's an A for me.
I love it. Chris, man, what say you? Iron Man 3 is a film that for some is a little bit tonally different because it is Shane Black, and he is a much different. He's kind of I don't want to say stylistic, but he has a voice, right? You don't just hire Shane Black and just have him do an assembly line movie. He puts his own flavor to it. Did that flavor work for you with Iron Man 3, Chris?
Back then it didn't. Now I see I got to watch that shit again. Golly, hey, sheesh. Yeah, I remember not liking this movie. What year was this? Did you say?
This was 2013, a year after the Avengers. Literally a year after the Avengers.
Got it. Yeah, no, I remember not liking this movie, but again, it's one of the movies that I have not gone back to. I will now because Amanda has now inspired me.
Yeah.
Back then, I think what I didn't like the most was that like everyone got a suit, so I was just like, well, everyone could be Iron Man. Like, it's kind of like it took away a little bit from me. It's just like, It's like, can everyone just really just have that power? So I would have had this at a C, but I guess. If we would depend on what you say, we can see where it ends up. But me probably would have C.
Interesting.
So we got an A, we got a C, and I think I feel comfortable at a C as well, Chris. And listen, Amanda, I think you and our buddy Griffin from Film Speak are very big advocates for this film, and I respect that. But I remind you, like you kind of alluded to it. Narratively, again, that's the weird thing about Marvel. It's like they have you want to have a solo story, but then it's like, okay, when we see the character again, what happened? The man he blew up all his suits, he lost his art reactor, and he started a new page. But then literally we see him in the Avengers just like as nothing happened. He's just like that whole arc is almost kind of thrown away. But my biggest issue, man, and I will never forgive them for having "You'll Never See Me." The Mandarin fake out is something I'll never be a fan of. I think that fake out of the Mandarin not being a villain was just so stupid. We'll joke of it, the Trevor of it all, and we'll talk about Shang-Chi later. Not a fan of that character. And then you look at the talented individual that they had as the villain. Guy Pearce is such a great actor. I feel like he was a waste. And you talk about waste. Rebecca Hall to me is like a phenomenal, not only actress, but just a talent. She's a director. She's a writer. You talk about waste. They just threw her. And if I'm not mistaken, Amanda, she was supposed to be the villain of like the original script, but they kind of changed that as Marvel normally does. But it's just not a film that I have that much. Narratively, I don't think it's a structured film. There's some great action. Chris alluded to it. The suit sequence at the end with the suits coming alive and fighting the extremists, I think was the villains and what they were trying to do. The airplane scene is cool when you think he's in the suit and he saves all the people. That's a cool scene. But outside of that, it's just kind of forgettable because again, they forget everything that film built and just threw Tony back into the mix like nothing happened. And of course, the Malibu scene's cool when he's his house is blown up. But I will give you this, Amanda. The most realest OG line that he said is when he went on camera, he gave the villain his address, like, come at me. That was a pretty badass scene.
He was awesome.
That, it just doesn't hit. So we got an A, we got 2 C's. That levels it up to about a B, which I think is more than what this film deserves to be, but I will respect Amanda having an A and put it at a B.
It's hard to get these time with us, especially rewatching it. But I will 1000% rewatch it because it's been a minute, and I'm down to get back there because I know I'm gonna be fighting like this for Thor: The Dark World. Let's see.
Oh, which speaking of,
Chris,
November 8th, 2013. Alan Taylor, who was really known for, he's done some movies prior to that, but he was a Game of Thrones guy. He directed a lot of great episodes of Game of Thrones. So, and prior to that, Patty Jenkins was in line to direct the film, but things didn't work out. But Chris, Thor: The Dark World. We've talked about it in the past.
Next.
Yeah, we talked about it in the past. So go ahead and let people know who might not know your take on this film. How do you feel about Thor 2?
Thor 2 goes crazy. I could give a dissertation on Thor: The Dark World. When you talk about bars, when you talk about wordplay, when you talk about heart, you're talking about Thor: The Dark World. Okay. You got brothers beefing and loving each other. You got parent drama because you got
parent dies,
Odin and Loki. Parent died, parent death, mother death. You got Odin talking to Loki, but he said it was my birthright to be king. He said your birthright was to die.
Bars.
It's so overly hated.
Yeah,
it's like I don't even get it, and it's one of those movies they put that on TV all the time too.
They do,
and
they do.
I have this movie. I know it ain't an A, but if it was me, honest, I'll probably give it like a low A. So I got this at a B, just for y'all.
I respect it, man. Amanda, do you have any? A similar sentiment to Chris that is underrated and unappreciated?
I love the banter between him and Loki. That is like the best aspect, literally the best aspect of Thor: The Dark World. Why I would watch it again. However, the villain is one of the worst in the MCU. Right. The whole thing with Jane Foster didn't work for me, but I put it at a C. I don't want to say C, but I put it
Malekith.
at a C.
Was that the name? The Dark Elves?
Malekith. Yeah.
Good gosh.
Yeah. I understand everything. Literally what Chris is saying. Like it has the potential to be a really strong movie, but just the way it was executed, just maybe if Kenneth Branagh directed this, like with this script, I think it would have been like much better. But,
all right, here we go. Here go the bars.
So we got a B. We got to see. What's up? What's up? Oh, they got the line. Odin, you got the line. Let's hear it.
I got the two lines that really changed this movie.
Yeah.
He goes, all of this because Loki desires a throne. It is my birthright. Your birthright was to die as a child, cast out on a frozen rock. If I had not taken you in, you would not be here now to hate me. That's crazy.
That's tough.
Then
man.
when they bring in Jane, and Jane's, Odin told him like, get her out of here. And then Thor goes, she's ill. And then Odin goes, she's mortal. Illness is their defining trait.
Odin was tough, man. He wasn't having it in that film. I hear you, Chris. I will hear both sides, and I appreciate all the stuff you guys said. I do think that it's probably some of the best relationship that we've seen between Thor and Loki. I think that the beginning of the film was really kind of Star Warriors-ian, if that's not even a word, just made that up. It does have that kind of vibe. I love all the stuff on Asgard. I love the death of Frida. I love that character and what it meant to both characters. Like, I'll never forget when Loki, the whole like Versailles, when he was in a jail cell, like, I'm fine. But then when you saw that he was actually broken by that, he has a heart.
And that's a great call
really
on my Thor. He's like, no, like, we're like, show me your real man.
Exactly. It's some like
that was really good
too. Some great stuff between those two. But Chris, need I remind you, very similar to Thor 1, everything on Earth is trash. Trash. Yes. Eric Sullivan, the doctor whole thing was weird. Jane Foster and Thor still don't have any chemistry. Shout out to Darcy. She's funny, but the assistant having an assistant joke played way too long. It's just, I wish they would have stayed on Asgard. And that's why I think we'll talk about Thor Ragnarok. If Taika got one thing right about Thor, at least he knew the Earth stuff ain't working. So let's just stay in space and keep Thor as far away from Earth as possible.
So it makes sense,
Exactly, Chris. So with that being said, I've come to appreciate the Thor and Loki relationship. So at that, compared to all the other garbage, I'm at a C with it as well, Amanda. So B, C,
which is fine, but I feel proud. I feel proud enough because a lot of other YouTubers would have had this.
Listen, bro, I know some people got an F.
People say some crazy stuff about this movie. And I'm proud to bring it up to a C.
Hey, congrats. Because there was a time that it was an F on my list as well. In the chat, guys, where Thor Love or Thor Dark World lands on your list. April 4th, 2014, introducing us to the Russo brothers. We're talking about Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I'm just gonna leave it to Amanda and Chris to maybe say their parts on it. But to me, it's an S tier. I think it's the first Marvel film, and I say first, that changed the game. I know we had the Avengers, we got Iron Man, but to me, it changed the trajectory of the MCU with crumbling the foundation of one of your leaders, where Captain America's faith was in the government. And you can't trust the government. They've been Hydra the whole time. And don't even get me started, Amanda and Chris, on the best hand-to-hand combat. And I love Shang-Chi, but that scene with Bucky and Cap, when he sees Bucky before he knew it was Bucky, that hand-to-hand combat is cold as ice. And I'll just end it on this. One of the best villains in the MCU, he's in my top 5, is the Winter Soldier. Whenever he was on screen, I literally got chills. I still get chills today. Terminator-less, like that was the best version of Bucky to me as the Winter Soldier. Amanda, take it away. It's an S tier for me if I didn't say it already. It is elite. But Amanda, how do you feel?
It's an S tier. Like, it is an S tier. This is the first one where I was like, this is the best movie they've ever made. Like, it was fantastic. Well,
spy, espionage. Who can you trust? Oh my God.
Right. And that's the thing where this is the first time where it didn't feel like an MCU film.
Yes.
Like it crosses genres. So I don't consider it like an MCU film. I'm like, oh, this is a good political thriller. Like that's what it feels like. And I think once they started playing around with different genres and leaning into that, that's when it hits. I think the score from Henry Jackman is phenomenal.
Yes. It's so cerebral.
I have to say it, right? Yep. Every time, like, you hear the notes and you're like, he's coming. Where is he?
Amanda.
Like, the Winter Soldier's coming. And you're like sweating, right? Oh like, you're sweating, right?
Right now. Yeah.
Yeah, do it. And, like, it's just awesome. I can't at all. Like, the third act is just so good. I know that everyone complains about the helicarriers. Like, it's too much. It's not realistic. I don't care. When he's slapping Bucky and then he ends up saving him, and it's like
to the end of the line.
Like,
come on. And then Nick Fury being a damn beast and Black. Listen, man, shout out to Black Captain America introducing us to Sam Wilson. He's a great character in that film. I mean, Chris, man, I don't know. Are you gonna poo-poo on me in Amanda's Parade? Are you gonna downgrade this to an A or a B or a C? What say you, Chris? No. Are we tripping?
The fact that they introduced Sam Wilson is hurting this film, But no, this is I'm good. Is Chris. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good with all of you guys. I'm good with S tier. This is a great movie, and of course, someone like me, who I didn't like the first Captain America, I was very surprised. Like, how did they make this one so fire? And then because like my favorite trilogy would then, by definition, be Captain America, because I love Civil War. I would have also put that as S tier. Spoiler alert. So it's like that movie was fire to me. I was like, damn, this is so much different than the first Captain America. Is this the same guy? So I'm
Right.
cool with you guys. I'm good with you.
First official S
Woo!
tier on today's list. I think is deservingly so, as you all can see. It's Cap all day. I love it. I
Pretends to
love
be
it. Wow,
five.
and let me just point out, this is a great year for Marvel. So in April we had Captain America: Winter Soldier. Then in August, I want to start with you, Amanda. We come with the Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn. Of course, we'll talk about 3 when we get to that point. But introduced us to a group of misfits that I didn't know prior to this film, but now, years later, I love these characters. Amanda, first Guardians, talk to us.
It's an S tier. Like I'm sorry. I was blown away by this movie when I watched it. I thought it was really smart to just add those songs, like the needle drops throughout, because they really nailed who Peter Quill was.
Yep.
I thought the casting was great for everybody, but I think for me, the connection is that they're all misfits. They're all misunderstood people. They're coming together. They're making a family. And I said this in my volume 3 review, and I said, like, they're technically the first family of the MCU. Like, I know that obviously
100%.
Fantastic Four is fam, like
100%.
OG, but
as far as
feels
MCU
like
goes, this is the first. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, totally. So I would take it as an S tier. It's fun from beginning to end, and the soundtrack is amazing.
Hey, Chris, man, soundtrack fire. Group of
Soundtrack
a-holes
fire.
coming together. But there is an issue that I'll get to. I wonder if you'll bring it up. But where does Guardians land on your list?
I got this at an A. I don't think I wouldn't have it at S tier, but I understand. But this movie was one of the ones that I didn't know the story of these guys. I went into it super blind. I don't think I saw the trailer for this movie, but my boy said, you got to check this out. I was pleasantly surprised. Fell in love with Rocket immediately. And now, that's another level. But I had this at A early, especially because of like came out of nowhere. Very surprisingly good movie.
Like you, Amanda, it was an S tier to me. And on a recent revisit, I still love the hell out of this movie. It's one of the few movies that I actually got emotionally impacted by, especially with the whole Peter and his mom moment. That moment is so great. Only thing that still brings this film down from an S tier to me, Amanda, to an A, like Chris, would be the villain. And it's tough. You're introducing 7 new characters. I just felt like if they would have had a better villain, it would have been a better film, or an S tier to me. But the fact that Ronan was just a puppet to Thanos, which I think if it was up to James Gunn, he would have never had Thanos in that film at all. And the Power Stone, he really didn't want that element in this film. So kind of the MCU of it all kind of hurt the movie, but it's still great. The characters are fantastic. So I'm good with an A. Brings us to I know I started with you last time, Chris, but I know this is a film that you are a big fan of. A first is the next Avengers film, Age of Ultron. Josh Whedon, Ultron's in the building, Pietro and Wanda's in the building, and Vision's in the building. There's a lot of stuff that's introduced in this film that some might say make it a little bit messy.
It's a lot. It's definitely messy. This is one of the few movies that in the beginning I didn't like and then grew to like it. That doesn't happen so much for me in the Marvel movies. But no, when it first came out, I saw it opening night, of course. I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. It's a lot. But I was like, I wasn't like, oh, why? And I thought the first one was just way better. As I watched it more and more, and I just felt like listening to Vision more and what he was saying and what he stood for, what he's about. I was into it more. I would have put this at a B. It is a little sloppy, but I think it's overly hated for me.
And before we get to you, Amanda, I think I'm a BC, more towards a B, just because I think most recent projects a la WandaVision have impacted this film a little bit more for me. It put a little bit more understanding to who I think Pietro and Wanda in that film were just kind of just thrown in. This to me was like when Marvel really laid its hand into a project, more so than even an Iron Man 2, because the Thor Vision the pool scene with Thor is just like so out of place and so weird. It was setting up so much. Like, this is an Avenger. This is why you set up movies to lead to this. You don't have an Avengers film be a lead off to other movies. Like, it made no sense to me to do that. So with that, I'm gonna C. I'm gonna stick with a C because I think they really focus so much on future versus focusing on something that could have been incredible. Ultron is such an awesome villain, and for them to throw, which I do hope they bring him back, but just to throw that character away the way that they did, it's something that's kind of hard to forgive. There are some iconic moments, don't get me wrong, but I'm at a C with Ultron.
I am at a D because I cannot stand Age of Ultron. I understand James Spader's voice, iconic.
Oh,
Ultron,
yeah,
iconic. No strings on me, iconic. I loved it. Okay.
Yeah.
However, the jokes, the humor in the MCU is just, it's so wonky for me.
Joss Whedon came in, yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
I
they
didn't need
did,
Ultron to be funny. That I didn't need that.
Yeah,
right? You
Tony
like,
Stark.
like, let's make him
Yeah.
be serious. You're allowed to be serious because phase 1 was serious, and then this is the one where it was like joke.
Yeah.
But for me, what butchered this entirely was the Bruce Banner and Natasha Romanoff
I forgot about
relationship.
it's a weird relationship, forced
Absolutely
relationship.
terrible. Yeah, that is the one thing that just left such a like bitter taste that I just could not sit through Ultron like ever again after that. And the fact that the fastest man died from bullets.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, Amanda,
Okay.
but
That's it.
that
That's all I'm
is
saying.
a silly ass. Oh my goodness, that is. And then Captain America choking a robot.
Like,
What's
I'm
going
sorry.
on? What's going on, Marvel? So
Yeah,
we got a
it's
what
at
I
a
say?
D.
C. Chris is at a was a B, and you're at a D. So I think C is averages out up for a C for us.
I mean, you can bump it to a B. I don't want to. I don't know.
I'm
No,
good with
no.
C. Chris,
bad.
you
If
gonna fight
if
for a B?
you had it, no, because you had it as a
Yeah.
C, E, and then
Oh,
she
I
had
did.
it as
Yeah, I meant
as a
C.
D.
Yeah.
Oh, so, okay.
Oh no,
Gotcha.
Amanda said D, and
I
you
said D, but if you're putting it at C, then you're fine.
All
You're
right.
good. Okay. Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
I'm cool. I'm cool with it there. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it there.
I'm sorry.
I'll get my revenge.
I'm gonna have you lead the way with this one.
Okay.
July 17th. Edgar Wright replaced by Peyton Reed. Talk to us about Ant-Man and why it should be an S tier.
Oh, okay. I won't go that far. I won't go that far. I said with the Winter Soldier, okay, this is a heist film through and through. For me, it did not feel like a Marvel film. I would put it S because I had so much fun with it. But for the sake of ranking it right now, I'd probably put it at like a B plus, like a B, because I understand that there are issues with Ant-Man. Because I love it, personal bias aside. I do think that what Peyton Reed did with like growing in size and shrinking, I love those action set pieces. The Thomas the Tank Engine is just still one of my favorite things ever. And Paul Rudd is absolutely perfect as Scott Lang. I think everyone was great. Again, the heist was great. Luis, just the whole gang, they're so fun. But this was just, again, it's a palate cleanser. I would put it at a B. And I'm okay with it as a B, like I understand. So
yeah, no, I respect that. I think I'm with you with that B. I think it's as we'll talk about later, easily the best Ant-Man film, to my opinion, because I think, in no disrespect to Peyton Reed, but I think the Edgar Wright influence really kind of helps that film, because you can kind of see where Edgar Wright was his influence in the narrative was. Luis is my MVP. I'm so mad that he wasn't in the last Ant-Man, but hopefully he's somewhere out there in the MCU. It's a fun film. It's a heist film, like Amanda says. Some really good character moments. The whole parallel between Scott Lang and his daughter, and Hank Pym and Hope, and that parallel and all that stuff. So it's a strong film, and I'm good with a B. What about you, Chris?
I'm at a B for that movie. I was like, say it's Ant-Man as a B movie. Get it? Anyway,
got it.
I know a movie similar to Guardians for me, where I was like, didn't have any expectations, thought it would be kind of whack, and surprised me. Love Pena, GOAT status,
so great,
and that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, man. I couldn't agree with you guys both. And the score too is so fantastic. Dun, 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 dun. That's a great score as well. So that wraps up phase 2. I would say, man, I think phase 2 might get some hate from the audience, but damn. I mean, there's some good stuff in there. We got the first S tier, as we talked about. We got an A tier with Guardians, and a couple C's, but it's a pretty solid follow-up to phase 1. Some might say, I don't know, it might be better than phase 1. Any final thoughts before we move on to phase 3, Amanda, on just thinking of phase 2?
I do think it's better than phase 1, considering the placement here. I think it's more rewatchable than phase 1.
Yep, I agree.
So
I couldn't agree with you more. Any final thoughts on phase 2, man?
Now, phase 2 is like, all right, we're heating up. That's kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
I will say this about phase 2. I feel like we're in phase 2 right now. With phase 5, I think we're going to gear up to what phase 6 could be, which is the new phase 3, in a sense of like banger after banger. So I think phase 2 gets a lot of hate, and I think it's very underrated. But Amanda, I'm going to start with you. Phase 3 change. It built this expectation where we're just like, this is peak. And I don't know if we'll ever get back to this. Hopefully we will. But I know a film that you aren't the. We'll hear your thoughts. But Russo brothers come back with their follow up to Winter Soldier, 2016's Captain America: Civil War. Amanda, tell everyone how you feel about this movie.
I won't get as heated, I promise. I put Civil War fairly at a B. And the reason why
Shocking. Okay.
Yeah, I put it at a B because I think I'm way too harsh on it. I have to admit, as I've said before, I think that putting Tony Stark into the storyline took away from the fact that this did not feel like a Captain America movie. It felt like an Avengers 2.0 film because they know that I feel like they messed up with Age of Ultron. And then it feels like they were trying to fix it with this Cap movie because I don't think they originally wanted Civil War to happen. So they kind of changed that up. I think that obviously meeting Black Panther for the first time, like that was just amazing. Love him. It was perfect. All of that was like great. The character interactions, the banter, amazing. Seeing Queens in Big, meeting Peter Parker, like all of that is fine. Action still holds up. It's fantastic that way. It just the end when it was all about like Tony and his parents, and then that tying in with Bucky, that's where it completely lost me. And that third act just it irritated me. But that's like a nitpick and a personal peeve of mine. But I can see why everyone just says like this slaps. So I would personally put it at a B with like a little dash of how I feel about it.
Chris, man, Civil War, my man. As Amanda said, introducing us to Black Panther, Peter Parker, like those are in any other circumstance, those are huge characters to introduce in the film, and the way I think they handled it was pretty well, man. But what do you think about Civil War, Chris?
One of my favorite movies of all time. This is S tier for me. This was crazy. This changed it. This changed a lot for me. I was like, this is when they that trailer had people saying some things. And that fight at the hangar, that's one of the most iconic in the MCU. So I got this at S, and I don't even got much else to say about it. You bring out the Black Panther like that, come on.
Oh man, tough. That's tough. S tier too. I'm gonna keep it sweet and short. Introducing us to two iconic characters like Black Panther and Peter Parker is no easy feat, and I thought they did great. You mentioned the hangar scene, fantastic, iconic. But I know, Amanda, you weren't the biggest fan of the third act. That third act to me is just so excellent because it takes, we think in stereotypical Marvel, they're gonna fight all these Winter Soldiers. The fact that it was just a hand-to-hand combat of two friends arguing against saving another friend, so personal. And I know, yes, Iron Man kind of overshadows some of maybe the more connective tissues for Cap, but I think it all still ties back to Cap because it goes back to his fundamentals. Is Bucky. He's going to go Bucky all day, every day, even over the Avengers. I mean, I do love the Avengers implement of this film, and I thought Black Widow was great, and Sam and Vision, who's going to be on whose side. It's just great. So S tier, 2 S's and a B. I think average out at an A.
I mean, you can put it at an S. Like I'm not gonna. You can put. I completely understand it, and it goes well for me because I love Captain America, obviously. So if you guys can keep it at the S, it's just my own personal issues with it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
We're gonna put it at that
because I'm gonna fight for another one. So we're good.
Two caps and an S. Hey, my day's made, Amanda. You just made my day. I'm good with 2 S's. And I'll start this one off. November 4th, 2016, Scott Derrickson's Doctor Strange. Kick it off with a C for me. For a long time, it was a D for Doctor Strange and just terrible. But I've come to things that I've always appreciated. Visuals were great. That's about it. I'm not a fan of this film. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is a great actor. I think he's miscast in the role, or at least the way that they're handling the character, at least in his solo outings. Just very bland. They're trying to do a Tony Stark thing, but the performance does not come off that way. He has no personality and no backstory or motivations. He's just an arrogant prick just to be that. But the visuals are cool. And I like Tilda Swinton in the role as the Ancient One. She's cool as well. Mordo, they didn't do anything with that. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest Doctor Strange fan. So I'm going to toss it to you, Amanda. Again, it was a C for me, but it was the D for the longest, but I'll bump it up for a C. But what about you, Amanda? Where's Doctor Strange?
I felt the exact same way as you. So I'm definitely at a C. Visuals are fine, but the story was just bleh, and that's
And Chris, man, that relationship between, you might feel different, but the relationship between him and I'll say Rachel McAdams, I can think of Christine, I think is her name, is flat. A lot of flatness for me in this film. But that's just me and Amanda with a C, Chris. You might surprise us and give it an A, man. Where are you at with Dr. Stephen Strange?
I agree with both of you guys. But I think Shockingly, I think Batman Begins hurts this movie because we kind of saw that kind of origin where it's just like you go off to this hidden place and
Yeah.
get trained up. So it's like we just saw that in Batman Begins, not just, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of took away from it. That was kind of like the best part of it for me, like the injury and then like trying to figure out ways to get back and like hearing the little rumors and stuff like that. But besides that, this is a movie that I don't go back and watch. So how you feel about Doctor Strange? And you kind of inspired me to like think differently or like just like see where you're coming from. So I agree with you guys.
Yeah, What If is the best Doctor Strange to me, and Infinity
Which
War,
is
which we'll get
crazy.
into.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
crazy.
Infinity War.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with the Doctor moving forward. But yeah, I think C's an appropriate place to put him right now. Chris, I'm gonna start off with you, man. Going back to the Guardians 2017, the sequel. A lot of jokes. For some people don't work, but at the end of the day, it's a great emotional payoff with Yondu's death. What do you feel about Guardians, man?
One that I think I only saw that one time in the theaters. It came in with a lot of expectations because Guardians 1 was real cool. This for me would have been a low C, high D.
But we're at a C with this one.
I put it at a C. I think the
Like I
jokes
have like no memory
overpowered.
like really of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you guys are tough on the Guardian. I'm a B, but I can see a
Okay.
C. I'm at a B with this one. I think emotionally, narratively, the Yondu stuff and the whole Peter
Yeah.
Quill father aspect is definitely focus on that more. But I'll put it at a C. Soundtrack is fire. I think it's visually stunning, and also I love the relationship between Gamora. Nebula being a key point too
Yeah.
as well. But I'm okay with a C. I'm okay with it. But let us know in the chat where you guys would put it, as well as if you're stuck around to this point of video. Again, a reminder to like, share, comment, and subscribe to all of these amazing people that we are interacting with today with Amanda and Chris and myself. So definitely do me a favor and check us out. Your
So,
Neighborhood Spider-Man coming out of the summer of 2017, directed by John Watts. Who is that? Who's John Watts? Well, he's the guy that brings us the first MCU Spider-Man, Homecoming. Talk to us, Amanda.
it's a B for me. Like, and I love
Alright.
Peter Parker. I don't know. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
have
don't feel
fun. No, I liked it, but I also didn't. Because again, there's the Tony Stark influence. And for me, it's
A
like
lot of Tony Stark.
it's a lot of Tony Stark. And like Spidey's his own hero. Like I just got so frustrated with it, So I think that was the big thing where I'm like, let him do his own thing. And they didn't. So B for me.
It's a creative choice to have Tony Stark be essentially his Uncle Ben, because we never got his Uncle Ben, which is still kind of fascinating to me. So, but they want to be different. I'm a unapologetic lover of Homecoming, man. It is just a fun, as they say, a John Hughes throwback coming of age story with a sprinkle of the MCU. Maybe too much sprinkles of the MCU with Tony Stark of it all, but I just have so much fun with this movie. And I also, Amanda and Chris, I love, this is a top tier villain for me. Michael Keaton as Vulture.
So
Fire. That moment when he opens the door and he finds out that it's the Vulture is Liz's dad still gets me to date. And that car scene when they're going back and forth and he's kind of channeling his inner kind of Bruce Wayne. You want to get nuts and going at Tom Holland. I love that. But it's an A for me, but I respect. What was it? You had a B, Amanda?
I had a B, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got an A, we got a B, and Chris is coming. And this is your homeboy. Chris is a New York kid.
This is I'm Kamala Harris right now. I gotta break the tie. Let's see. This is a movie where when it came out, I had it at an A. That I don't think it has the best replay value. And unrelated, it annoys me how much Peter fumbled the Liz bag by being an idiot. Break the tie out of y'all two. I would lean closer to A than B. Let me just say that. I'll end there.
Are you good with an A, Amanda? Vulture?
Yeah.
Spidey?
That's fine. That's fine.
I love it.
It's just Tony Stark. I think
it's a lot of Tony Stark.
It's literally just Tony. That's it.
He is the Uncle Ben. To a very, very interesting film and a very interesting director, November 3rd. Thor Ragnarok with you, Amanda. Thor Ragnarok. For Thor, I know you like the Kenneth Branagh Shakespearean Thor, but now we're getting some stand-up comedy Thor. Master and Hulk and Loki. Valkyrie.
This is a straight up like C, almost D for me. Thor Ragnarok. I know everybody loves it. Okay, it's bottom of the barrel for me. I can handle the jokes. I did not need to see the Hulk's butt. Like it was just
Hulk ass, green ass.
The jokes were just so annoying, and I swear to you, like I watched it again afterwards. Like I think during lockdown, I watched it, and
Yeah.
it was every time I kind of liked it, there'd be a really bad joke or a really bad scene where I'm like, this doesn't make sense for Thor to say. I want people to go watch the first Thor and then watch Thor Ragnarok
vastly
and
different.
literally test that thing out, because for me,
Yeah.
that did not work. That was not Thor for me. And that's pretty much it. I'm
I
sorry.
love it. So we got to see, Amanda. I'm going to counter
Yeah.
your C with an A. Listen, everything you said, I respect it. But
Yeah.
I would inject all this energy into the first Thor, and it's such a more better, because I don't like the more serious Shakespearean kind of vibe that we got from the first one. This was, I think, the shot in the arm that Thor needed. Something new, something fresh, something exciting. Being in space, not on Earth, more than 2 scenes with Doctor Strange looking for Odin. The fact that they got Kate Blanchett as a villain, I think speaks a lot. And I really enjoy her villain, and also enjoy, I mentioned how the Avengers was maybe the last time we saw the Hulk that I like, but we got some really cool Hulk moments in this one as well. It's still an A for me, Amanda. I have such a fun time with this film. It's just a fun adventure, and I really enjoyed that kind of Saturday morning Flash Gordon of it all, the corny cheesiness, over the topness of it all. But we got a C, we got an A. Chris, what say you?
You got 2 A's, because this is one of my favorite MCU movies. This is one I've seen the most. Like this is always on. I own this. I mean, I own most of them, but this gets a lot of replay. And of course, how can we forget the introduction of the Korg? Korg makes it an A on his damn self. But no, I love this movie a lot. And you get Valkyrie, that's fire. Like, come on, man. There's a lot of good stuff in this movie.
Grandmaster,
The Grandmaster scenes are funny with his assistant, because he's not like that of a bad guy. It's like oh man, it's like so many moments. That fight scene alone is crazy.
Yeah,
the friend from work, that scene, and all that stuff. Like that's a good scene. Love Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, me too, man. And some great shots in there too.
That's why I thought I was fucking gonna love Love and Thunder, man. We'll get there.
We'll get there. 2 A's and a B or a C is
it's fine.
Where you at?
I like.
We'll leave it at A or a B, Amanda.
Yeah. Go ahead. Put it at A. It's fine. It's fine.
Amanda,
it's fine.
Team player. You're a team player.
Because I don't want it beside Ant-Man. Just put it.
This might be a quick win, but not because it's a bad film. I think it's a cultural, impactful film. I'll never forget where I was at. February 16th, 2018, Ryan Coogler's Black Panther. I'll keep it short and sweet. It's an S tier for me. It's an impactful film, great film. Rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. Great characters, M'Baku, Okoye, the whole gang, Shiri, Mother. I mean, the film is just, I never got the backlash of when people were mad because it got nominated for Best Picture. I think it deserved it. I didn't think it needed to win, but the fact that it's the first nominated film, I think speaks highly to the quality of the screenplay and amazing performances. I get the third act issues, whatever, but it still is an impactful film to me. I might be a little bit biased, but hey, it's an S tier for me, Black Panther. What say you, Amanda?
Oh, S tier. Massive S tier. Yeah. I don't understand the third act. Every single third act in a CBM is wonky. I don't know why that's a nitpick for this one specifically. Yeah. It was a perfect story. Like I loved everything about this. So yeah, it's S tier.
And don't even get me started on arguably maybe the best score. Soundtrack's fire, but score. The Black Panther theme song, Malaje's theme song. Chris, man, where are you at? We got 2 S's, man. Where you at?
Come on, man. SSS. Let's get it. Let's get it going.
Yeah, man.
SSS for the culture. This is the movie. I talked about this with you before. This is the movie that basically started Tate's Take. I was doing this stuff on Instagram, and my first movie that I ever talked about on Instagram stories was Black Panther, and then I kept doing it every week. So this movie is important for me, and I have to say that this movie is S tier without Chadwick Boseman dying. This is not one of those things where it's just like we're trying to whatever. This is an S tier movie. It's just a great movie.
And let me not leave out maybe the best villain in the MCU, Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan. Did his thing. This might be another short one. I'll just put my hat in the ring. S tier. We got April 27, 2018. The Russo brothers brought us my favorite personal MCU film of the entire franchise. That's Infinity War. I'll just leave it at S. What they were able to do with so many characters still is mind-boggling. And then, of course, I just mentioned Killmonger. The best villain in the MCU is Thanos. Chris, any objection to an S tier with Infinity War?
This movie changed my life. In this theater experience, and this is one where I also
theatrical experience. Oh my goodness!
Oh god, it was so fun.
And I know, I tried to get my boy a ticket. He was in town. Like my boy, we watched a lot of the Marvel movies together, and he couldn't make it. And I went alone, and I was like, which I normally do. And I was like, damn, like I needed him. Like I needed someone, but you felt like everyone was with you. So Infinity War, if there was a thing above S, I would put this.
Yeah.
above S.
Yep.
And Endgame, of course, above S as well. But this is a clear S for me. This. I watched this movie. I've seen Thor Ragnarok a shit ton of times. I've seen Infinity War a million times. Like this is it.
Yeah.
Only issue is the Hulk being
I knew you were
the
gonna say
Professor
that.
Hulk stuff. I wish we would have saw the Hulk, but him getting his ass beat, which was deservingly so, because he needed that ass whooping. Amanda, S tier, A tier, where you at with Infinity War?
S tier times 1,000. Like I went with a group of 10 people. We had the entire back row. When they started getting dusted, we were freaking out. The stakes were high.
Man.
That's the important part in Infinity War. Anyone could have died at any time. I believe that. Okay. And that's why this worked. The Cap reveal coming out of the shadows.
Tough.
Tough. The greatest thing ever. Like, greatest thing ever. Everything about this. Everything about Infinity War. Phenomenal.
Ebony Maw. Well, I'll give you I'll throw another kink in the wrinkle. He should have been. I wish Ebony Maw was in Doctor Strange had like a second fight. I'll give it that, but I mean that's just nitpicking. Score is fantastic. Thor landing in Wakanda, still one of the best moments of the MCU cinematic universe, and the ending, Amanda and Chris, like you guys alluded to, we all knew that Black Panther was coming back because they already announced, Spider-Man. We knew they were coming back, but I didn't care. I thought this is it. They're gone. They're dusted. Stakes. It was impactful. Should have went for the head, Thor. Should have went for the head. But listen, y'all, we're limited on time with our boy Chris, so we're gonna probably power through a couple of these before we get into phase 4, which brings us into. And let me know, Chris, when you gotta leave. So I know you gotta leave in a little bit. So I'm gonna start it off with you, my man. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, I got this. I got this at a D. This movie. This is a movie that I only watched for a little. I watched this movie when it first came out, and before the new Ant-Man, I watched. I saw a little bit of it, trying to get caught up. It was a little better than I remembered it, but I still would have this as a D. And I'm comfortable if you guys got it a little higher, but not that much higher.
I'm gonna leave Amanda to do cleanup because I know she might have a different opinion than me and you, Chris. I'll give it a D. I'm really, if I'm being honest, it's a D, F for me, but I'm gonna give it a D today. It is a bad movie, Amanda. I do not like this movie. Ghost is trash. The story is trash. It's literally I hate when people use the word filler, but this is literally a filler film before we get to Endgame. The only reason this film stands in the MCU is for the quantum realm. That's the only purpose of this entire film. Was the post credit. So, but Amanda, I know Ant-Man's your boy. You could speak to him, but I do not like this movie on a lot of levels.
I think what harms Ant-Man the most has been the placement after and before films. And clearly that's what we just said. I get the D. I understand it. I would put it at a C maximum. I understand that too. I put it at a C. I wouldn't put it anything higher, but I'm okay with putting it at a D. I had a blast with that movie. The Hot Wheels, that was just amazing. It was so much fun. But I get the Ghost was one of the worst villains that we could have had. So
there's literally no purpose to there's really no villain in the movie. If you ask me, there's like none at all. But yeah, hopefully Ghost is redeemed come Thunderbolt. So what are we? Was that a D? For Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think is generous. Moving on.
I mean, if you want to leave it at the C, you can.
Hold on. That was Chris. Scott Lang must have hacked into my computer and did that.
Sorry.
Next on our list here is a film that I think is a little bit overhated, guys. I'm gonna start off with
overhated.
Captain Marvel 2022. I know people hate Brie Larson for their own personal reasons, whatever. She's an Academy Award actress. I will admit that I think that the director, this was a bad fit for the direction of the film and the writers of the film, throwing it to this character who was very bland. But I had fun going back to the 90s, Nick Fury of it all. And there's some really cool action sequences. So people hate it. I don't necessarily hate it. I don't love it. Don't get me wrong. But it's a solid C. It's a solid C for me, Captain Marvel.
Okay.
On a good day, it can be a B if I'm in the mood, but I'll give it a C.
I can agree with the C. I never liked this one. I would put it literally at a D. I never liked it. I thought they had two very different styles because it was co-directed.
Yeah, it was co-directed. Yeah, those were the bad fit.
Yeah. That's it. I think they could have done more with the 90s than what they did. I thought it was a
True,
bit
true,
preachy at the same time. And I know that I am a woman and I'm saying it was preachy, but it felt preachy. Editing was wonky, but it's fair to put it at a C, even though I put it lower.
But Captain Marvel, man, we got what I say C. Amanda got a C for
I had
you.
Captain Marvel
C.
at a C, but I feel like
C.
the internet has it as an F, and I think
As
it's
an F,
unfair.
yeah. I think it's
That is
criminally unfair for a lot of people to kind of, put it lower than that. But I'm excited for the new one. I'll just say that. Avenge. I think this might be another quick one. Talk about theatrical experiences. In game, I've never cried so much in a superhero movie in my entire life than that film for multiple reasons. Number one, nerd tears. Like this, seeing that third act is just something I think will. Maybe Secret Wars, maybe, but that third act is just phenomenal, and everything leading up to it was just so great. It's an S tier for me, and I might be biased because I'm adding in my influence of the theatrical experience, but I think it's just a really, again, I don't know how the Russo brothers did it. It's a feat that I think is just so impossible. So it's an S for me in game. What about you, Chris?
This is an S. This is crazy, and I mentioned this on another one of your lives. This had me emotional at the end because I told myself like, I will never have this feeling at a movie again. Like this will probably never happen to me.
I agree.
And Secret Wars could do it, but because this existed first,
yeah,
it would be a little bit less susceptible to it. This is an easy S tier. These two movies are nuts, man.
It's Amanda, I'm gonna let you wrap us up with this one before we get into Spider-Man. But I mean, any thoughts on just what you're going back to 2019, the impact that it had? It's the highest, well, Avatar is now, but top 2 grossing movie of all time. I think it made $300 million domestically in an open weekend, which is, I remember the debate. It's a 3-hour movie. Not every theater's gonna play it somehow, some way. People managed to see it. Every theater had it playing. It's crazy. Amanda, we got 2 S's. What say you?
Oh God. I have this at a B. I have it at a B. Okay. I felt more in Infinity War when he got stabbed, Iron Man, than his actual death. I think that it was taken away 100%.
You can rest now.
I know, but I know. It was tainted for me in Infinity War. I think that kind of cop out in that one, that was the only thing. The time travel didn't make sense whatsoever.
Time travel is rough. Time travel is rough. Yeah. Time travel.
That was the only thing. And I just felt like it was the stakes that were different. Like I was still hopeful, don't get me wrong, but it just felt like Infinity War did everything so much better that Endgame was kind of a disappointment for me. And for me, it's not like I go back to watch Endgame. It's not rewatchable for me. And I feel really bad saying this because you guys are like loving it.
Hey, this is why we have. This is why
that's the point.
Yeah.
It's not as fun when you got 3 people saying the same thing.
Exactly. I love it. I respect it, Amanda. So we got 2 S's and a B. So average at an A. Hey, I'm okay. Listen. I respect Amanda's opinion, and I'm good with an A. Again, it's an S, for me and Chris, but I respect everything Amanda's saying. I do personally, like I just mentioned, Infinity War to me is the better movie, personally.
Yeah, totally.
But it's just so many moments. So before we get Chris to wrap up, man, we're gonna have you wrap it up with Phase 3 because I know you got places to be. And Spider-Man: Far From Home, July 2nd, 2019. The ramifications, the first movie to come after Endgame. Chris, we got Mysterio, Jake Gyllenhaal. We're no longer in New York, which is crazy to take Spider-Man out of New York. Did it work for you, man?
I got this one at a B. I enjoyed Homecoming way more. And I got, spoiler alert again, I got Spider-Man No Way Home at an S. So I'm at a B with this one.
Yep.
Amanda, what about you?
I'd put it at an A. I really love Far From Home. I would go to bat for Far From Home. I thought it was a lot of fun. And obviously we haven't seen Spidey out in New York. So I kind of like that they did that. And I prefer the jokes. I thought Mysterio was really good, even though people think he's a poor villain. But I put him at an A, but I respect the B as well.
All right. So we got a B, 2 Bs? You got to be right, too, right?
Yeah.
Amanda's at A, I'm at B.
Okay. I'm at a C. I do not have fun with this film. I do not
no.
like the idea of Spider-Man being out of New York.
Oh.
And I like Mysterio. I think the visuals that he brought to the film is fun. But
Fire.
yeah, it's just a film that I don't have fun with, man. It's just a weirdly, oddly paced film that I'm just not the biggest fan of. I definitely prefer Homecoming over this, and we'll get to No Way Home a little bit later, Amanda. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. So what is that? A B average, I would say.
To be.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, B. I think it's a
I
solid
think that
score.
no, they're not going to be
That's
kicking and
good.
screaming about this. That's
Yeah,
a
I
I
fair.
don't think so. It's fair.
Before, because I know Chris got to leave. Before you head out, I think you alluded to it, Chris. But was there one more, maybe S tier, that you want to mention before we have you exit, man? And
All
maybe
right.
one more, maybe F that we didn't mention before you
Give
head
me a
out, man?
scroll down. I could really blaze through these really quick.
Let's see.
Just go. Give me a quick scroll down.
Well,
Black Widow's
Mhm.
also overhated. I'm cool with Black Widow at a B minus C plus.
Okay.
Shang-Chi is a very good movie. That's an A movie. Eternals, very overhated. Maybe the most overhated
Yeah.
in my personal opinion of all of these MCU movies. I got Eternals at a B, the lowest,
Okay.
and it could be a B plus. Spider-Man I already said is a S. Doctor Strange Multiverse was supposed to be a S or A.
So
It's
much
not.
potential.
I got that at a high C, low B.
Okay.
Thor Love and Thunder,
Good.
you let me down, Thor. You let me freaking down. I got
Oh,
Thor
good.
Love and Thunder at a low C.
Gotcha.
Oh.
A low C.
Gotcha.
Wakanda Forever, I got as an A.
Big one. Okay. Gotcha.
And it's not because it's not because of that. It's just good. I
got
think
you.
it's a good movie. I love
Mhm.
Namor. That
Yeah,
world is
yeah.
impressive. I know there's a lot of people who think they're mad that it's a lot of feminine energy. I think that's problematic to be upset about. People are mad that another world is fighting with Wakanda. I think that's cool. It makes sense if they also have vibranium. They said it also landed in the water. It's not like it doesn't diminish Wakanda's powers. So
Yeah.
I think that's an A movie in my personal opinion. Quantum Mania should have been better.
Yeah.
I got that at a high C.
Fair.
And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume
Recent
3.
one. Yeah.
Volume 3, I got that as an A, as a A movie.
Yay!
I got because that's, I know it's I can't, if you put it as, I know it's a phase 5, but
Yeah.
if I put it in phase 4, I would have like Spider-Man. I'll have Spider-Man, Wakanda, and Volume 3 in the same top
Yeah.
tier.
That's fair. Yeah. I like that.
I love it, man. Well,
Nailed
Chris,
it.
we gotta link up again, man. I know we're all busy and whatnot, man, but I love the chemistry that we all have, man, and I always appreciate your time, man. So before you leave, if you want to let the people know again where they can find you, man, and me and Amanda will wrap up with our phase 4 and give you all our final thoughts on the future and all that stuff. But Chris, man, outro and out, my man. Where can people find you?
For sure, I appreciate the time, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching the rest of the videos to see what other hot takes Amanda has for us. But if I could even handle anymore. But yeah, I'm Chris Tate at Tate's Take. I really appreciate the time that Elliot allows me to come on and give my opinions on stuff like this. But if you're interested in my kind of opinions on movies and TV shows and documentaries and stuff like that, you can find me at Tate's Take. And if you want to reach out, all my social media stuff is in my YouTube bio. So real cool to be hanging with you guys today, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the stream.
Yes, sir, man. We will definitely, again, guys, Chris's information can be found in the description of this very video. Can't wait to catch up with you again, man. I know we're shooting this in the past when people will be watching this, but hopefully
we got the pin particles.
We got hopefully the Knicks can have a good night for you, man, and hopefully the Warriors can tie things up in Game 7 on Sunday, Chris. But it's always good to see you, man, and hopefully we can all link back up come phase 5 with some shows with Secret Invasions.
We got some low key. We got
Marvel's later
down.
Yep. Yeah, man. Got a lot of good stuff.
No. We'll be back. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. It was looking bad for Marvel, man. Guardians of the Galaxy saved them a little bit, but they still got work to do.
Still some stuff. Yep.
They still got work to do, but that's a powerful thing. I'm looking forward to what y'all opinion was about that, because I haven't heard what you guys' thoughts are on it yet. But long live Rocket.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. We'll catch you later, bro.
Bye.
All right, man. Well, that leaves us with myself and Amanda. What a great discussion thus far, Amanda. I appreciate you again, guys. Chris's information can be found in the description. But we're gonna wrap things up with our last 2 more phases, Amanda. But we're in the multiversal saga, Amanda, and we've spoken about it ad nauseum with our previous streams with covering phase 4. But